There are many sideline pundits who are speculating, will the agreement between Israel and Hamas hold? How long will it take before Israel starts bombing somebody somewhere again? And all kinds of other questions. I'm Diane Sare, and it is October 14th. And of course, yesterday we had the very historic signing in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, of the first phase of the peace proposal put forward by Donald Trump and Bibi Netanyahu, probably somewhat against his will. And we did have yesterday the release of 20 hostages, the last 20 living hostages held by Hamas, and the bodies of, I think, 4 more. There are 28 bodies to be delivered. That will be difficult because the Israelis did so much heavy bombing that it is going to be hard to locate some of these bodies under the rubble, but an effort is being made to return them to their families. You also had 2,000 Palestinian prisoners who had been taken since October 7th, 2023, released, and another 250 Palestinian prisoners accused of more serious crimes, some of whom will be deported elsewhere other than Gaza. But nonetheless, many people were greatly relieved and happy. Another cause for happiness for which we should thank Lieutenant Colonel retired Tony Aguiar is that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation has been shut, and that hopefully, I'm sure by now, some of the 6,000 trucks that have been waiting outside of the Gaza Strip with food and humanitarian aid are being allowed in. Also of interest, Hamas has been allowed to rearm or maintain arms. President Trump, when asked about this, said, yes, I'm aware of that. We need them to stabilize the region. You can imagine people returning to their bombed out homes, looting, desperate for food, starving, and various factions, including the factions that were armed by the Israelis to fight Hamas, and who were, I think, Shabab is the name of the character heading this operation, who were stealing the food and charging outrageous prices. So Hamas is now trying to calm the situation. And it's very interesting that President Trump said that he was aware of this, that he had authorized it, approved of it, he said, for a time. So that should tell you something about maybe everything you've been told about the region is not true. Now, the more challenging part, and most urgently, reconstruction. Already, as of a few days ago, Egyptian bulldozers were moving into Gaza, but they need many more. They need very advanced earth-moving equipment, and they need a reconstruction plan. Egypt has put forward something. There is the horrible Riviera plan of Jared Kushner, which I hope they won't be doing. And most important, Lyndon LaRouche's Oasis plan, which everyone watching should study. Now, I just want to say something about how this could have happened. And I don't think it would have happened at all under Biden. I do think a factor is that President Trump wants to have a legacy as a peacemaker, although he and the people around him, because of various flawed axioms or inordinate amounts of Zionist lobbyist money, have not been making decisions that would lead to peace. But also the world, you come to a point where people simply will not countenance the slaughter any longer. And I know one of the Israeli peace negotiators, Gershon Baskin, actually said that he thinks a tipping point was when the Israelis attempted to kill the negotiators for Hamas in Qatar. I suspect that perhaps the Charlie Kirk assassination was another tipping point. Whoever carried out the assassination, the fact that you have so many people now raising the question of his view on Israel and his beginning to question perhaps what happened October 7th, and then his saying that he had lost a $2 million a year donor and he could no longer carry water for the Israel lobby, in effect, just 48 hours before his death. Does that mean that's who killed him? No, not necessarily. It could be totally coincidental, but the fact that it's a question may be one of those factors that led President Trump to say that AIPAC doesn't have the control over Congress that it used to. Now, otherwise, there's been skirmishes between Pakistan and Afghanistan that have led to people getting killed. It looks like the focus of the leftover British Empire is on China. So you had a Chinese chip factory just seized by the Dutch government, which is really pretty outrageous, saying they're afraid of them spying. And we have the situation in Ukraine where President Trump keeps talking about whether he's going to send Tomahawk missiles or not. This is really not very helpful. It indicates the role of some of the people around him, like Keith Kellogg, who is just insane on these questions. And the Financial Times, Washington has been giving intelligence to Kyiv to strike Russian energy facilities deep within Russia, which has been going on. So what do we do? Helga Zepp-LaRouche is doing two things. One you'll be hearing more about soon, which is to upgrade the platform of the news service founded by her late husband, Lyndon LaRouche, Executive Intelligence Review. We are going to have not only online media to read, but also video and audio of the morning updates, as Harley has been doing a certain kind of update, but also exclusive interviews with many of the military, diplomatic, and other experts who have been collaborators of the LaRouches over some time. So you can look for that. The fact that you had this kind of pressure that the war had to be ended, that Trump was empowered, decided that he could bring the pressure to bear on Bibi Netanyahu to end this thing. And I think for these reasons that it's probably not likely that Bibi Netanyahu is going to start bombing Iran, but I could be wrong. I think there is a very strong desire to make this work. The only way it will work, however, is that the entire framework of international relations has to change. Just as the American Declaration of Independence stated that every man is created equal, every human being born on this planet is born equal with an equal innate potential for genius. Every nation must have an equal voice on the world stage. Every nation has its unique religion, language, culture, history, geography, and every one of these nations has unique talents to bring to bear to advance mankind as a whole. And when we stop running around trying to be the global hegemon with the rules-based order, which are totally arbitrary and have nothing to do with natural law, it will not work. If we can move into a paradigm where all nations are equally respected and the right of their people to economic development and growth is equally respected, then I believe all of these problems can be solved. And of course, nothing would be more natural than for the United States, which won the first war of independence against the British Empire, to be playing a leading role in making this possible.